Welcome to Wisdom Radio. I'm Dr. Rusty Hoffman, professor of interventional radiology at Stanford, bringing you a direct line to critical research and interventional updates. Powered by AI, curated by experts. Let's get started.
Today we're doing a rapid-fire look at the four foundational tools of interventional radiology. We're talking needles, catheters, wires, and sheaths.
Exactly, the absolute basics.
And our mission is to get our heads around not just what they are, but how their completely different sizing systems have to line up.
And that alignment is, well, it can be a real headache. You're juggling three separate systems. You've got gauge, French, and inches, all dictating size.
All at the same time.
All at the same time. And honestly, understanding how they fit together is probably the single most important part of getting safe access.
Okay, let's start with the first tool in the door, needles. They provide that initial access, and they're measured in gauge. I mean, why are there three systems in the first place? It just seems like a huge risk.
It's mostly historical, but it forces you to be vigilant. And with needles, you immediately run into what we call the gauge paradox.
The paradox.
The lower the gauge number, the bigger the needle's outer diameter. It's completely counterintuitive.
Right.
So a big 18-gauge needle is larger than a delicate, say, 21 or 22-gauge needle that you'd use for a small target.
I saw there's color coding involved, too.
The green hub, that's your standard 21-gauge for micropuncture access. The little blue hub is a 25-gauge. You usually see that for injecting lidocaine, local anesthetic, to minimize the pain.
Okay, so we have initial access, but now we need to navigate. That's where catheters come in, measured on the French scale.
And there's our second scale. One French is simply 0.33 millimeters. But the key thing to remember is that French measures the external diameter.
The outside of the tube.
The outside. It tells you how big the hole in the vessel needs to be. And this really matters for function. An end-hole catheter shoots a strong jet straight out.
Which could be risky.
It can be.
Yeah.
That's why you have catheters with side holes, like a pigtail.
Yeah.
They spread out the pressure.
And the shapes are for targeting, right? You've got non-selective ones and then very specific ones like a Cobra or a Simmons.
Exactly. They're shaped to hook into a specific artery. But there are two safety rules you just can't break. One, always flush the catheter to prevent clots.
Okay.
And two, always advance it over a wire. Never push a catheter by itself. You could tear the vessel.
Which brings us to wires. They're the guides, measured in inches, right?
Our third system, yep. And the workhorses are the 0.018-inch and the 0.035-inch wires. Commonly, they are referred to as 018 and 035 wires. This brings us to the fit rule.
Where it all has to come together.
This is the linchpin. So for a standard thick 035 wire, you need at least an 18-gauge needle.
Because the needle has to be big enough for the wire to pass through.
Right, and for the smaller 018 wire, you need at least a 21 or 22-gauge needle. It's that paradox again. The smaller gauge number 18 is the bigger needle for the bigger wire.
And it's not just one type of wire either. There are stiff ones for access, slippery ones for tricky navigation.
For sure. You have stiff access wires like a cope, then slippery ones like a glide wire that might need a special torque device to steer, and then really rigid rail wires like an Amplatz for pushing heavy things like stents.
Okay, last piece of the toolkit, the sheath.
And here's the one big exception you have to remember. Sheaths are also measured in French, but it refers to the inner diameter.
Ah, so it's about what can fit inside it.
Precisely. A 6 French sheath is designed to perfectly fit a 6 French catheter. It's the only tool where French measures the working space. They also have a hemostasis valve to stop blood from spraying out.
So to put it all together, walk us through that safe access method, the micropuncture exchange. How do all these parts work in sequence?
Okay, so the whole goal is to start small and upgrade safely. First, you puncture with a small 21-gauge needle.
Smallest entry possible.
Yep. Then you slide the tiny 018 wire through it. Now the needle comes out. Now you advance a small, say, 5 French transitional dilator over that wire.
To make the hole a little bigger.
To create a safe 5 French track. Once that's out, you have a perfect stable hole ready to accept your standard 035 wire and whatever device you need next. You've safely married gauge, inches, and French.
And there we have it. We've navigated the 3 scales, gauge, French, and inches, and figured out the critical rules of compatibility. That's a huge piece puzzle. That's it. Until next time.
This is Dr. Rusty Hoffman, and that's a wrap for Wisdom Radio. Download the Wisdom app by searching for Medical Wisdom, spelled WYSDOM, or visit medicalwisdom.ai for rapid-fire videos, podcasts, and community insights. And remember, knowledge is the best medicine.